Hello, BookTube. As some of you will know, hopefully all of you, a huge BookTube event is right around the corner. Nonfiction November, hosted by Olive at a Book Olive, is right around the corner, which is a celebration of nonfiction that sometimes gets the short end of the stick when it comes to reading. A lot of people have been conditioned from school assignments or bad nonfiction to think of it as a chore, as boring. Olive is here to tell you, and I can certainly echo it, that that is not true. If you think that about the nonfiction that you've read the wrong nonfiction. Not the genre is wrong. And Nonfiction November is designed to rectify that or help to. You are enjoined to read some nonfiction if you don't read any at all, and to read more for the month, even if you read some. And as is true every time, all of us come up with a group of prompts that you are free to ignore. She says herself, if you read a nonfiction work in November, you are participating in Nonfiction November. But if you want, a lot of people, this is a huge event now, sprawls over all of the internet. And if a lot of people like the structure, so she has given very intentionally open-ended prompts for each week of Nonfiction November. Those prompts are record, element, border, and secret. I've done a couple of videos on suggestions for Nonfiction November, but I thought I'd do another one since endless recommendations are just what the doctor ordered for an event coming up like this. I thought I'd do a video of possibilities for Nonfiction November 2022 that align with those prompts. So for record, I thought immediately about Reigning Monarchs. We just lost an incredibly long-serving reigning monarch in England, and that automatically made me think of the longest-serving monarch, who is King Louis XIV of France, who was on the throne for 3 times the normal lifespan of one of his subjects. I wanted to give you a couple of recommendations along those lines, one new and one a little bit older. The new one is by Philip Mansell, King of the World. A big fat thing. Your library will probably have this in its system, and it's fantastic. Just fantastically chatty and really, really conversant with the sources. Just a wonderful, wonderful book. But there is an older book. It's by Pierre Goubert. I don't know who the translator is because it doesn't mention it on the cover here. But this is Louis XIV and 20 Million Frenchmen. This is from probably 40, 50 years ago. But it is delightful. It is far more offhandedly eloquent than the Mansell book or any other book written in the 21st century. And every bit as conversant with the sources. But it's the estimate of Louis XIV from a different, far more personal vantage point, and also from a different generation. So both books very much worth your time. But also when I think of the Queen and how long she served on the throne, I automatically thought about the English crown, not the French monarchy. And I thought about the 11 Days Wonder. I thought about Jane Grey, Lady Jane Grey, who was on the throne for less than a fortnight. And there was a recent book by Nicola Tallis. We saw it on my channel. It's called Crown of Blood. And it's the story of Jane Grey and her treasonous family and all the goings-on in her life before an interpolation in King Edward's will brought her to the throne, and also the best possible account in modern times of what she did in those 9 or 10 days that she was on the throne. Very good, very readable book. So as far as record goes, I thought those would be some recommendations I could make. Then the next prompt is element. And here I automatically thought about exoplanets. The world's high-powered telescopes are discovering more and more exoplanets every single week. Thousands of them are now discovered, and a lot is known about them, a lot more than you would think, about their atmospheric composition, their size, their density, so their relative gravity. Pretty fascinating things, considering that we'll almost certainly never go there, and doubtful ever send probes there that will get any closer. It's amazing how much we can know. But when I thought about that, I realized, well, the ultimate undiscovered country, the ultimate unexplored planet is this one, and that's the ocean. That's the 70% of the world's surface is oceans that are in a huge percentage unknown, despite the fact that they're being cooked and also overfished. They are still in many ways mysterious. So if I choose the oceans for the element prompt, then again, I want to give you an older recommendation and a newer one. And the older one is a classic. I wish that it were an actual classic, that it were reprinted all the time in full color with photos and whatnot. It isn't, as far as I know, in print, and as far as I know, it hasn't been in print in 30 years. But it should be. It's The Silent World by Jacques Cousteau. One of many books that he wrote, but I think by far the best one. This has a Frederic Dumas is the co-writer here. Probably Dumas did a lot of that, but Cousteau's energy and sort of caustic enthusiasm for exploring the ocean is all through this book. It's a marvelously readable experience. And that's the older recommendation, but a newer one would come from the great publisher DK, who do visual books, illustrated books like no one else. Their illustrated books are marvels to behold. They are infinitely revisitable. And they did one a few years ago called The Blue Planet, in conjunction with the Discovery Channel show of the same name. And this doesn't require you to fire up the plasma screen TV. You can just lose yourself. It's a big, oversized, gorgeously illustrated. It's all illustrations with text overlaid all throughout. All about Earth's oceans. An amazing experience. Just any of you who've ever paged through a DK book will already know. It's an amazing experience. So I wanted to list that as well, but if we move on to the prompt of border, so we'll be past the halfway point in Nonfiction November. I thought about all kinds of borders. I think the natural reflex here is to think about borders between countries or between states. And that might lead some of you into fairly argumentative and thorny areas of nonfiction. The border politics in America, for instance, is extremely fraught. But I thought about a different border. I thought about the border between day and night, which is fascinating in its own right. And there are some books that I very much want to recommend. A couple of them we've seen on this channel. I think one of them we have not. The first one is called by Peter Davidson, and it is The Last of the Light. It's a philosophical meditation on twilight. So it tells you what twilight is and how long it lasts, any special geographic or geophysical features that it might have. But it's mainly a meditation on the period where light is still scattering in the sky, where darkness has not come, but the day is over. Because of the composition of Earth's atmosphere and the speed of Earth's rotation, we have this little period that isn't day and isn't night. It's a perfect time for you to look back and reflect on the day and also get ready for the night and its completely different feel. This is lovely, just wonderfully eloquent as a meditation on twilight. Another book on borders would be not the border between day and night, but the border between night and day. And I have a couple of recommendations there for dawn. One of them is this thing. I don't know how readily available this is, but it's amazing if you can get it. This is called Songs of Place and Time, and the subtitle is Bird Song and the Dawn Chorus in Natural History and the Arts. And it goes through writings of natural historians and also nature essayists and sections in novels and poetry and whatnot. And its main concentration is what the title says. Its main concentration is the dawn chorus, which is the term that's given, I know a lot of you will know it already, but it's the term that's given to not just the dawn coming up in the morning, but birds starting to speak again in all of their multitudes. Most of them go silent at night. They are trying to rest, and they are also trying to be inconspicuous for predators. During the day, they are marking out their territory. They are signaling their availability or lack thereof for a mate. And as many a bird natural historian have pointed out over the centuries, clearly also for the sheer joy of it, they start to make noise, to chirp, to warble, to sing. And each bird species kicks in at its own time. It's not first come, first serve. It's not the first one up starts to make noise. They happen in their own way. Each voice comes in at a different time, hence the word chorus. And the dawn chorus changes depending on where you live. And it's amazing. The most amazing way to experience it is if you are actually in the woods at dawn or on a marsh, somewhere with a very varied bird population. If you're in such a place as that and the dawn chorus comes up, you're going to feel, as many a naturalist has pointed out over the years, completely surrounded by song. A sonicscape that there really isn't any equivalent to what you experience unless you are on the open ocean and get caught in whale song. Otherwise, you're not going to be ready for the way dawn song just envelops you. The dawn chorus envelops you. And the birds chime in each in their separate way. And it changes from season to season. Of course, it changes when birds migrated, when they're not there anymore. The population of it changes. I have been in places, in Iowa, for instance, where the dawn chorus was unbelievable. The unbelievably rich experience where you had to experience it. You couldn't miss it day to day. Some places, it's a little bit less rich. There's fewer diversity of birds. My current situation here, I think probably there are 4 voices in the dawn chorus. It's still wonderful to hear, 2 in the winter, 4 in the summer. Still wonderful to hear, but all it does always is remind me of dawn choruses that I've had before. And there's another book by a natural historian named Diane Ackerman. A lot of you will know her. She's done a lot of books on the senses or on natural history essays and whatnot. And she has a book called Dawn Light, which is about experiencing the dawn. I know that it's a staple of dude bro self-help channels to say you should get up 2 hours before sunrise and experience the dawn when you can see it break over your empire. Not soulless, mechanical, totally self-centered ways to appreciate this thing. But leaving them aside, it is amazing to experience the dawn, especially if you experience it outside. That's not something that a lot of people are going to be able to do. A lot of people have to get up in the morning to work. They're not going to get up an hour or 2 early to experience the dawn. They're not going to go out tramping in the morning. Whenever I can, whenever I have dogs who will allow it, who are in any way interested in it, I tend to do it. Right now, I have a dog who is not a morning person at all. If I were to try to get her up to greet the dawn out in the woods or at the top of a rock escarpment in the forest, she'd have my head. She'd fire me. But I have experienced it, and this book captures it so beautifully, just so beautifully. Diane Ackerman is such a beautiful writer. But then, if we move on to the final prompt, is secret. And that, of course, is all true with all of Olive's prompts. It can be applied to almost anything. But I wanted to go to a few different kinds of secrets. Like, for instance, sticking with the subject of Earth's oceans, the bottoms of Earth's oceans, the deepest places of Earth's oceans, have lots and lots of secrets. The pressure at those depths is enough to crush metal, but things live there. And we now know that. And we know something of the profusion. We don't have any idea how deep they go, how deep life goes on this planet. And we don't have any idea most of what it does down there. But Helen Scales, who's fantastic as a scientist and nature writer, wrote a book called The Brilliant Abyss about that subject. And this, I think, has secrets in the subtitle. No, it doesn't. But that's what it's about. And you can see, necessarily, it's difficult for humans to do. It become easier in the age of armored drones. But this gives you as much as we currently know. And Helen Scales, I don't know how many of you have read her books, but she's an amazing writer. And then if we look outward instead of inward to our planet, we can go to the rest of the solar system. There's an author here, David Grinspoon. He's come up on this channel before. He wrote a book a few years ago called Venus Revealed that is about one of the most relatively similar rocky inner planets to Earth. Venus and Earth are almost the same size. They have almost the same density. Their year and day lengths are drastically different. And of course, their environment is drastically different. Venus is a hell world. Venus has had runaway greenhouse effect for millennia. And as a result, it has clouds of sulfuric acid. Its surface is hot enough to melt metal. And Grinspoon is the Shakespeare of this hell world. He's written quite a bit on Venus, and he is tremendously evocative on what we know. Venus is still a planet of deep, deep secrets. Probably irrecoverable secrets, because what we naturally want to know about Venus is, was it ever inhabited by life? And we'll probably never know that, considering the fact that it rains sulfur. It rains sulfuric acid. Considering the fact that it's a heavily volcanic planet. So the surface has changed millions and millions of times in millions and millions of years. And it's boiling hot. So nothing can really survive. It would take a really, really in-depth, in situ, you would have to have scientists there, examination of the surface of Venus to determine whether or not life ever existed there. But it's an eternal question. So that's one secret we'll never get. Another, if we were to go from out to Venus all the way into Earth and then as far in as it goes, you could go to the quantum realm, the realm of quantum mechanics, which has, there's a lot known about it. It is exhaustively studied. It makes all kinds of staggeringly accurate predictions. But there's a lot of it that's deeply counterintuitive, and a lot of it that isn't known. And one of the books that will start you off, if you want to, is by Ray Boulder. Excuse me. And it's called Quantum Physics for Beginners. And this lays bare, this has secrets in the title, the step-by-step guide to understanding all the secrets of quantum physics and how we unknowingly use its theories in our everyday lives. The amazing thing about quantum physics is that the quantum world does not behave the way the macro world does. And all of our instincts, all of our intuitions have been completely sculpted by the macro world. So you get to start reading about the nuts and bolts of quantum physics, and your mind wants to rebel at first. It's a very unsettling but a very nice experience. And then the last prompt that we'll do for the last book that we'll do for the last prompt of secret is the secret that rules all our lives, and that is YouTube. There is a recent book, this just came out. This is by Mark Bergen, and it is like, comment, and subscribe. This is his book about YouTube. Now, a large part of this book is about the very human, very knowable, and very not secret elements of how YouTube was built as a company. But the book still traffics in secrets, because it's still all about why this caught on and how the infamous YouTube algorithm works and all the secret biomechanics that go into that. If you spend a lot of time on YouTube, you probably want to get this book and read it, because it is full of secrets to directly influence you. And that's it. Those are just some suggestions. I could do a video like this every day for the broad prompts for Nonfiction November. It's right around the corner. I would love to hear if you're going to participate. I hope you all do. I've been a champion of nonfiction for 60 years. I would very much like if it had more readers. If you are one of those people who reflexively thinks, well, nonfiction, what am I, in school again? Am I going to have to take notes? Is this going to be on the test? I'm telling you, you are missing an unbelievably rich world. So I'm hoping that you do take part in Nonfiction November. And if you do, I want to know what you're going to be reading, what you have in mind. Feel free to sound off in the comments or email me and let me know if you're going to follow the prompts and what you have in mind. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.